I was born on a homestead between Estancia and Tahiti. That's across the Mazana Mountains from here. And I'm 96 and still kicking around. We lived across the river in Tomé, or Valencia. So really we didn't come to town very often. And but I remember Highway 66. We would go to Albuquerque occasionally, and it was a long drive. And my recollection is that it was an extension of 2nd Street, not Broadway like it is now, but 2nd Street, and it went through the reservation, and that there was no Highway 85 on this side. And it was paved all the way to Los Lunas. And then where it turned to go into Los Lunas, well, then where Highway 47 is, and that was just a dirt corrugated road. I also can remember when they constructed what they called the bypass, and that was the extension of 66. Instead of coming through Los Lunas, it went west, and that really did hurt Los Lunas as far as the motels and restaurants and things like that. And my parents were born in Texas, and they homesteaded in where I was born. And pinto beans was the main crop there. And after a few years, I was about 5, I guess, or 6. It was a real hard time and depression. And at the same time, the Blue Water Lake was being constructed, the dam, for the irrigation around the Grants area. And through my father's acquaintance with a gentleman named Captain Reed with the Santa Fe Railroad, which owned most of the land in the Blue Water area, he hired my father and a friend of his that had horses and mules and Fresnos to move to Grants and build some of the irrigation structures that were going to be used for that irrigation area out in that area. The interesting about the old Japanese rifle I have here is I was on a ship, and when the war was over, we were doing maneuvers for the invasion of Japan, which unfortunately never happened. But we were assigned the job, our ship and a couple of the small ones. We went up to Korea, and people didn't even know about Korea then. And the Japanese had conquered Korea or taken over, and they had tremendous warehouses there of municipals, ammunition, all kinds of war things. And we anchored out in the river, and we had landing craft that you could put down into the water, and we would get in these landing craft and go to these warehouses that had all of this Japanese munitions and things in there, load them up, take it out in the ocean and dump it. And we spent, probably a month doing that. And the captain of our ship, over the PA one day, said that he had made arrangements for any of us that would like a Japanese rifle, and they were brand new, that he could arrange for it. And he said the firing pin has been removed. And so I took one, and I carried it around with me for 60 or 70 years or whatever, And finally, I said, well, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. And I happened to think, well, you might like it down here. So I brought it down and gave it to you. So that's the occasion for me to have a Japanese rifle.
Okay, my name is Patty Gugino. I've lived in Los Lunas since 1965. Grew up in Albuquerque before that, and before that, Coffeyville, Kansas. My relation to Route 66 is that the pre-1937 alignment is one of the more fascinating aspects of Route 66, which holds national attention all the time anyway. But I became interested in it because it came down through Valencia County. And so the village wrote for a grant, and Scenic Byways grant. And I, in conjunction with many people who helped me, created about an 18-minute video that details Route 66 traveling through Valencia County from 1926 to 1937. You know, hours of work because, you know, write the script and then it has to be videoed. And the village was, of course, very supportive. And Los Lunas Main Street used to look a lot like what Tondry Road looks like now. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not. It comes off of 314 and it has the trees that grow up over in a canopy. And when we moved here in 65, that's the way Main Street still was. Had the cottonwood trees. And so to recreate the feeling of what Route 66 had, we filmed down Tondry Road with vintage cars, and it's you know, it's fun to redo those incidents that happened along Route 66. After the election in November, whoever the incumbent governor was pulled out all the stops, and he had considerable sway with the highway department. They had a great relationship, and he said, we don't need Route 66 to go down south or to go down north, so let's cut a road through the mountains. And they did it from November till January, and it was like an incredible undertaking because they had to uproot trees, and the snow was 3 feet deep, but the highway department was very well aligned with the then governor, and so they just pulled out all the stops, and we had this immediate cut straight into Albuquerque. You know, I can remember traveling on Route 66 as a kid. My folks would come west for my mom's health, and it was, you know, it was 2 lanes, and there were trailer courts. There was, in fact, the building where the Route 66 Museum is going to be located was one of it was Jesus Gallegos' home, and in front of his white home that he and his children constructed was his gas station. I think it was the Acoma. And then they had another sign. There was another station a little bit further west on the north side of the street, and it said, you know, last chance for gas. And I can remember, you know, and that's right there on the property just to the west of the Luna Mansion, where the Country Inn used to be. And that was a local watering hole, if you will, that was enjoyed by everybody. And so all of those buildings are, you know, very historical. Even the Solomon Luna High School building was constructed in 27 or 28, and it's, what, a half a block off of Route 66.
My name's Regina Chavez, and I've lived here all my life, in fact, on North Los Lentes Road. And Route 66 is a very, very important part of our history here. My dad, Mariano Chavez, World War II hero, worked at a gas station right on Route 66, and right now the Range Cafe is on top of that. They threw the gas station down years ago, and Henrietta's was there first, and now the Range Cafe. But it was called Hub Oil Company. And it was really a hangout place for a lot of high school kids too, and a lot of them worked there. So my dad enjoyed his work, and he drove the tanker, the big semi-truck, out to Rio Puerco, what is part of Route 66, Rio Puerco. He would take to the farmers out there and deliver gas. And it was just a really good environment, gas station, we're full service. Full service. They put the gas in your car, they wore uniforms. And one day my dad came home from work. He was very proud because they had a secret shopper, and he was awarded this recognition of superior salesmanship. And he wrote on the back, "To Regina from Dad." And it was 5/22/1975. And right after that, the gas station was closed. They closed it. It was open like the late 50s until the mid 70s, and then they closed it. But it was a very important part of Route 66. A lot of people there hanging out, kids. It was a good environment. So I would say he was probably in his early 40s, maybe 40s.
Mhm.
And he had a good career there till they closed down, because he was also their semi-truck driver delivering fuel to all the farmers. I guess for probably a good 20 years he worked there, and he just met so many people from all over. He'd come home and tell us, "Oh, these people from New York, came through, and they were asking questions about the area." And, Route 66 was big, from Chicago to California. Yes, I believe back then it was a full draft, because we were fighting all over the world, not just in the Philippines where my dad fought. Yeah, he was drafted, and he was infantry. But my dad, I guess they make him take some kind of test in the Army, and he qualified to be a paratrooper.
Oh,
So he said he got on that plane thinking gung-ho. He said he jumped off once, would never do it again. He said, "I'll be infantry. And he carried that 100-pound backpack and gun, and that's what he did. And in doing so, he saved his captain. He received the Bronze Star, and he saved a bunch of nuns in the Philippines that were going to get invaded, and he received the Silver Star for that. Then came back home, got married to my beautiful mom, Lily, had 6 children, and he started working, like I said, at the gas station, farmed for a little bit, and he also was a bus driver for Las Lunas schools. Yes, he said he was working, and this gentleman drove up, and my dad got out, started pumping gas, and he told him he was from Virginia, and him and my dad started talking, and it turned out this gentleman also fought in World War II, but he fought in Germany, but they were both fighting in different parts of the world for the same cause, and he just thought that was pretty much one of the only stories my dad really talked about. He didn't talk about what happened in the war and what he saw, but he was just excited about that, meeting somebody that shared what he went through, and from another state, completely far away, coming on Route 66.
yeah.
Just seeing the sights as you drive from the bridge up to the high school. Look around you. Look at the beautiful cottonwood trees right there. And now we're building a new bridge, which we do need. There's an old Huning home. There's so many interests. I walk a lot, and I'll go for a walk, and I'll see something I hadn't seen before, like an old cottonwood tree. I was like, wow, that is really remarkable. So I think the youth need to get outside more and look around as they're walking. And my son taught me that. Mom, when you're walking, look up, look around. Don't just be looking down. And he goes, I don't want you to fall and trip, but look at your surroundings. You just, it helps with everything. So that's what I would say. Route 66, keep it going.
Yeah. And is there, all of that stuff is great fun for traveling around and appreciating New Mexico for its uniqueness.
I would recommend Los Lunas to anyone.
Cherish it. That's what he would say, cherish it.